This next song is called Caught Stealin', and it was actually Jane's Addiction's big hit in 1990. And the groove itself kind of has a hip-hop influence to it, and very happy, kind of bouncy, not quite as dark as most of Jane's Addiction music. So this is Caught Stealin'. Check it out. Alright, so that was Caught Stealin'. Nice funky beat, somewhat of a hip-hop feel, and very playful, and has a sense of humor to it. Some of my beats are kind of funny in a way, where they kind of make you giggle just by the feel of it. Let's take a look at the cadence for Caught Stealin'. Let's start on the snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't forget, when you print this out, to pay attention to that sticking and the feel and where the accents go. Once you get that flavor, you'll be able to take it to the drum part, to the kit. So let's try it with the bass drum now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the bass drum part gets busier as the song goes, and then I pull back sometimes for the verse, kick it up a little more for the pre-choruses. Always the same feel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try it with the hi-hat. Kick and snare. Don't forget to open the hi-hat as it goes into the and 1, or excuse me, and 2 and and 4 with the snare. 1, 2. Now when you get that feel later on in the song, where you kind of push on the beat and we go to parts like this. Pushing that beat really gives it a nice accent and a nice feel to it. But don't forget that big roll. Now if you notice, a lot of my beats have that little catch-up on the snare to give it the bounce. And I've done that with Had-a-Dad, and I do it with this song. And a few of the songs, it really creates a good bounce and a lot of highs and lows for the feel. Now let's try it with Tony. The bass line is pretty complicated. Very busy, and it's got its own roll to it. I'm trying to kind of improvise against that bass line, but also reflect on it. Not really replicate it, but kind of use that theme, try to recreate that with just the drums. So print this part out and try to discover how that kick and the snare are so playful, but kind of a bounce to it, and really pay attention to that bass line. And when you start jamming on it, you can move around like the other beats, to the ride cymbal, to the toms, back to the hi-hat, and always remembering to open that hi-hat right before the 2 and right before the 4. Sip, sip, sip. That really helps the pattern move along and kind of have, like I say, peaks and valleys. So that's Caught Stealing. Let's have fun doing this. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. So, it's really about connecting with the bass player, not too playful after you come up with the beat. The beat is playful, but after that, you want to keep to that beat. And like I say, it's got a real, almost a sense of humor to it with the bounce. And I'm really imitating the bass line. That's really the core and the hook of the song. And the drums are kind of just supporting that. And it was really 1990 we recorded this. So there was a hip-hop movement, but it wasn't as big as it is today. But I kind of had a hip-hop influence on that drum beat. And literally, the hipping and the hopping is what it is. So, and what do you think about that?
From the bass perspective, I like the way, because it's always slightly pushing. You got this... And it's I like it because it reflects to me what the topic of the song is. It's been caught stealing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, it's on the edge of his seat. I've been caught stealing. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
so,
there's anxiety almost to it.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
I mean?
And yet he's having fun with it because he's been playful. I've been caught stealing. It's 5. You know?
Exactly.
So it's great how the drums and the bass and the whole thing supports the whole song.
That's very important. Listening to the lyrical content, the actual words, the topic of the song, the subject of the song, how can you support that theme to really make the song its best, its most sensitive and musical piece, is by knowing what they're singing, knowing what the song's about, so you can support that. And there is there's a sense of humor to the lyrics, so there had to be somewhat of a happy sense of humor to the drum part. And that's where it gets bouncy and kind of happy. And the catch up on the snare, really gives you that anticipation, waiting for that next beat. Kind of like I explained earlier with the egg rolling down a hill opposed to a regular sized ball. They both go down the hill, but one's got a hump to it. And Caught Stealing's got that hump. There was also a type of music that came out of Washington, D.C. called go-go beat. And I was kind of influenced by the go-go beat for that song. And if you get a chance to listen to that type of music, they've got a guy on kick and snare, a guy on cowbells, a guy on bongos, 3 or 4 different drummers to make the feel. But the feel kind of has that roundabout feel to it. And That's Caught Stealing. Now, when you're playing along with this bass line, it is quite busy, so don't be afraid to try different things with your kick drum. You know, my bass drum is quite active. To really support the bass line, like Tony was saying, that urgency, that downbeat. And I think together, even without the rest of the song, that rhythm section really holds a lot of water, gets people moving, gets people on the dance floor, and that's what it's about, get people moving.